Okay, so to stain, the first thing I'm going to want to do is put on some gloves. So after we've got gloves on, we want to pry the can open. And there's not much of this left. I've been using it, but take a popsicle stick, which I've cut the end off. I've actually used this once already. But you just want to stir everything up. You want to especially scrape the bottom, which is why I ground it down flat, so I can scrape the bottom of the can. That's where everything settles. This is a brand new can. You want to stir it a lot. If you've used it recently, you probably won't have to stir it as much, and you'll want to stir it as you're staining, depending on, if you've got a small project and it doesn't take long, you might not have to, but if it's taking a few minutes, you'll want to stir it as you go, every so often, to make sure it's mixed up. So once you got it nice and stirred up, then we can stain. It's pretty simple. You just dip your brush and essentially paint on the stain. You don't really want to do it sopping wet, but you want to get all the cracks and grooves. Ultimately, you're going to go back afterwards and wipe this off after it's had a few minutes to set in. So unlike paint, it really doesn't matter if you touch it as you're going along. You're not going to really leave any fingerprints, because again, it's just stain. You want it to soak into the wood. Oh, you dropped it. You want it to soak into the wood, and then you're going to come back and wipe it off. And boy, I'm going to have a lot to wipe off there. Dab it into the corners here. The corners can be the hardest to get. And take a moment to stir again, because it seems to be settling. You want to kind of stir it as you go. Keep it mixed up. And kind of put this on thicker than I need to. Yeah. So let that sit for a few. And work on this one. Try to get the inside so you don't have just bare metal or wood sticking out. And try as I might, unfortunately sometimes the glue does leave little spots, like here, where it's just not going to quite stain properly. It's not perfect, it's homemade. What can I say? Alright, I'm going to tap this back on. Take some of this blue shop towel, I love this stuff, and I'm going to go wipe out the extra stain, because you don't really want it drying on there. I did that the first time I went to stain something. I didn't know any better. First time, all by myself. Years ago, I lived in Nevada, wipe my hands off. And I thought it was like paint. And I lacquered it on there and just set it out on the porch to dry. I came back and you know, it wasn't even at all. Some of it was darker than the other, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to put a second coat. Yeah, stain doesn't really work like that. There you go. Hang that up. And, you know, I reread the directions and thought about it more carefully. That was a bonehead thing to do. So I had spent some time sanding it back down to get rid of that stain, so that I could essentially do it all over again. Wasn't fun, but it was a learning experience. I learned that day you don't just paint it on and leave it. Cover it and you wait a while, and then you wipe it back down, because you don't want the excess drying on there. You just want to stain it. Alright, and I've got some old electrical wire here that I've made little hooks, and I'm going to hang it up. And I'm pretty much just going to leave that until it stops swinging, or overnight, whichever comes last. I can't remember. You want to read the directions on the stain. I think you're supposed to let it sit for a few hours. I just leave it overnight. That seems to do pretty good. Done for now, and after that's dry, sometime tomorrow I'll put some polyurethane on it. Alright, so this is stained. Turned out nicely. Now it's just a matter of a little bit of polyurethane. I did have a can that I would paint on, and not to say that went badly, but I thought I'd give the spray on polyurethane a try, and it's turning out pretty good. The last one I did, I put on 3 coats and gave it a day or two to dry, and then lightly sanded it because it was rough, and then that smoothed it out a lot, and then gave it a couple more coats, and it looks good. But step 2, polyurethane. Again, I've got my hooks, and I hook it on there. I'm going to give this a little bit of a spray to get it started, and then just make short little passes. This is getting low. I'm gonna hang this up and finish it. Do the inside. And then I will hook it and put it up high. Well, actually, before I do that, because it's kind of high, I do one end, and that's the end I'm going to put up high as the light. The light's going to be clear coated. Yay!
a good start. And then now that I'm done, I'm gonna hold the can upside down and spray it till it runs clear. That keeps the nozzle from getting clogged. And I'll let these sit for about 30 minutes or so. It's kind of cold, so I may leave it a little longer. And in the meantime, I gotta run to the store and get some more. So I put 3 coats of polyurethane on the second dice tower, and much like the first, it's very rough feeling. So it's had about 3 days to dry, and now I'm going to take some 220 sandpaper and just lightly sand it to smooth it off. And it's amazing how much difference that makes, just that little bit right there. If you listen, when you first start sanding, it's louder, and then it gets quieter as I go on. So just light sand, 220 sandpaper, 220 grit, and really you're just not putting very much pressure at all. You don't really want to sand to finish off, you just want to smooth it down. It doesn't take much. There you go. Sanded down and much smoother. It almost gives it a little bit of a shine back. And what I'm going to do is get some tack cloth and go over to get all the extra stuff off. And then I'm going to put 2, maybe 3 more clear coats on it and call it good. And depending on the last time I did this, sanded, I put 2 or 3 clear coats, I sanded it, I put 2 or 3 more, and that was so smooth I didn't need to sand it again. So we'll see if that happens with this one. I ended up putting another couple of coats on the dice tower, and it turned out nicely, and I have finished it up and wrapped it, and it's ready to be gifted. One of the things I had said in the beginning of the video is that I had used this spray polyurethane before. Not entirely accurate. I had actually used the spray polyacrylic, which is similar. It's an acrylic based. It does the same job. It's safer for painted stuff, which I had a clock that I had made that I had painted. And everything I had read and been told was this could possibly damage the paint, so I went with this. This worked out nicely. Put a nice shiny coat on it. It wasn't rough. I will definitely use it again. However, this is the first time I've used this spray paint or spray polyurethane as opposed to the regular canned stuff that you brush on. And I will not be doing it again. Not that it turned out particularly bad, but it is rougher. It does take longer. The finish is rougher, requires more sanding. And the really bad thing about this is once you put a coat on, you have 2 hours to apply a second coat. According to the directions, if you do not get that second coat on within 2 hours, or third coat, or next coat, if you do not get it on within 2 hours, it recommends you wait 72 hours, basically a week, to sand it and then continue. And that takes a long time. That's a lot of time wasted, whereas the regular paint on can stuff, you put a coat on, you wait 4 to 6 hours, you sand and put another. This is very time consuming, and I won't be using it again. It's not a bad product. The canned paint on stuff is much better. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped a few people out there. I myself is still in the learning process. Honestly, who isn't? So there may be improvements that you can make. Certainly, if you have any tips for me, leave them in the comments. I'm open to more help myself. If you do like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and thank you for watching.